Right now, let's go over to New Jersey. Mike Straka caught up with the UFC president, Dana White, to talk about how this deal unfolded.
Thanks, Kenny. That's right. It is the biggest story in mixed martial arts. It is the acquisition of Strikeforce by UFC. It took the whole sporting world by storm and surprised a lot of people. Joining us now is UFC president Dana White. Dana, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Why did you purchase Strikeforce now at this point in time?
It popped up. You know, the deal popped up, and it really just happened. It happened really fast and out of nowhere, but we did it. A
lot of questions. A lot of people want to know about super fights. Will Fedor? First of all, is Fedor part of the deal?
Yeah, Fedor is a part of the deal. Fedor is under contract with Strikeforce, and Strikeforce has a deal with Showtime, so that contract will be honored. And you know, as many people know who've been following the sport, that I don't have too many fans over on that side of the fence. You know, there's been a lot of things said, and stuff that's happened. So we're going to take this thing one day at a time. And Lorenzo actually met with him yesterday. We'll send Lorenzo in there. Kind of smooth things out.
Are you ready to bury the hatchet, though? If there was a hatchet?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. We'll see what happens when we all get into a room and we start doing business. Can we do business together? Yes or no? My point is, we will honor the contract. We will honor that Showtime contract.
There's a lot of theories out in the blogosphere about why you purchased it now, and were the UFC the only suitors for Strikeforce? One of the theories is that Pro Elite, who brought us Elite XC, was one of the people trying to buy it, and I would position it and say, well, UFC probably bought it not because they were afraid of Pro Elite, but they were afraid of Pro Elite bringing the sport back another 10 years. How do you respond to that?
I would agree with you 1,000,000%, but I didn't know of any other company out there trying to buy it, but I wasn't on that side of the deal. Who knows? There could have been, could not have been, who knows? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I
know you're not going to answer this question, but if you, from what I understand, the purchase price, I won't even say the purchase price, but I've heard, and I also heard it's less money than you offered Fedor Emelianenko for 6 fights. Is that true?
Yeah, it's, yeah, I saw some of the numbers floating out there, and they're all wrong. All the numbers are incorrect that I've seen. It wasn't less than what we offered. But let me tell you what, I'll tell you this. Vadim has to be kicking himself in the ass. Yes.
Why?
Why what?
Why is Vadim kicking himself in the ass?
Because they should have been in the UFC. They should have come into the UFC when there was an opportunity for them to do it, and they should have got in. I think even for his legacy, if you're going to get beat, whether it's get triangle choked or your face smashed, at least get it done by the best guys in the world so you don't lose. Listen, they probably don't care about as much about legacy as I do, but I think legacy is important. And for the last however many years, Fedor hasn't fought anybody.
If there's anybody, though, Dana, who could fix that legacy for Fedor Emelianenko, it's Dana White. Would you be interested in giving him fights with Randy Couture and giving him fights that could fix his legacy?
Yeah, and I don't think it's Fedor. I've dealt with his management, and it's 100% those guys. So, but the problem is, I don't think you're ever going to have a situation where Fedor is on his own, making his own decisions. So, the answer is probably no.
When I interviewed Coker, he told me that the relationship between you and he changed when he signed Fedor. He said for good or for better or for worse, but you've never ever really said anything bad about Scott.
Yeah, it's not true. Yeah, I've never said anything bad about Scott. When he signed Fedor, before he signed Fedor, nothing. I've never had Scott Coker is one of these guys, and I'm saying this now. Take me back before this deal's done. Because Scott and I have sat in a room now and had conversations, done everything. Before the deal was done, before Scott and I ever talked, Scott Coker was one of these guys that he didn't say anything. He didn't come out and start firing missiles over at us or talking trash. That's what all these other goofballs did. All the guys that competed with us before were guys that would start firing shots at the UFC and saying we didn't do this right, didn't do that right, taking personal shots at me. Now we're in a fight. Coker never did that. Coker's a good guy. He's a respectful guy. And maybe we said a little, he said something about me being like Don King and stuff like that, meaning that I'm out there a lot. I say a lot of things. He didn't say anything disrespectful. He never has. So I never had a beef with Coker.
the cliche goes, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. One could argue that by purchasing Strikeforce, you open up a void that somebody could jump in and fill to become a competitor. What if somebody with a lot of deep pockets and with some kind of business acumen comes in now? Are you welcoming a new challenge?
It's always going to happen. These guys aren't going to go away. The fight business is fun, and we make it look easy. This looks easy. Like, look at those guys. They're making tons of money. It's crazy. We should be doing this, and it's fun. Let's get in the fight business. You know how stupid that is? This is how dumb it is. It's like sitting at my house on the couch, and we're hanging out watching NASCAR. Look at all the people there. Oh, my God. And racing's fun. You know what we should do? And then 2.5, 3 years later, you're 15, 20, 30, $40 million in the hole, crying, you know, looking to get out of the business.
These are just theories, so feel free to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But when you acquired WEC, the theory was they have a deal with Versus Network. It's strategic for UFC to have another network that they can play off of Spike. Now with this acquisition, Showtime is another it's a premium channel that you could play off other networks, and it's also a pay-per-view provider that you could play off your current pay-per-view provider and get better rates. Does all of that come into play when you think about buying these companies?
Let me tell you what's going on, and this is what's happening. It makes me laugh when sometimes when I'm cruising through the internet and I read some of the stories that some of the reporters write and everything else. Nobody knows what we're doing. We know what's going on. We're the ones that built this industry. We're the trailblazers that are out there, you know, making all these things happen. We know what we're doing. We know what the future is. We know what's going on. And it's funny to sit around and read some of the ideas that the you know, some of these websites throw out there. And trust me, we know exactly what we're doing for the next 5 years.
Okay, so in the next 5 years, you currently have enough archival footage, enough shows, enough talent to create your own network. Will we see that soon?
It's a different world out there right now. Going out and starting your own channel isn't as easy as it was, you know, 6, 7 years ago. It's a lot tougher than it used to be, but you know, does it make sense? Yeah, it makes sense.
But Dana, think about what we're talking about, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, the question was, are you going to get on TV? Now we're talking about, when are you going to start your own network?
Yeah, well, that was actually longer. You know, I know it seems like yesterday, but we're going on like 7 years for season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. So, yeah, no, what you're saying, it definitely, to be where we are right now in such a short amount of time, we bought the company literally 10 years ago. So to be sitting here now talking about all this stuff and to be where we are today is pretty amazing in 10 years. And like you said, stuff didn't happen until 6 years ago.
Now, I know that the current Strikeforce contracts with Showtime have a whole set of rules or whatever parameters, but are we going to see Strikeforce in Vegas at MGM sometime in the near future?
Yeah, I think you'll see Strikeforce in Canada, possibly at the MGM. I mean, we'll see how this whole thing goes. You know, sometimes when, for instance, and I mean this 100%, when we bought Pride, we absolutely 100% intended to keep Pride alive and run that thing over in Asia and see what we could do. But you know what? It didn't work out that way. Not even close to working out that way. And some things happened. So it folded, it came in, we created some new content with the Pride stuff, and we did a better job than anybody had ever done with the Pride shows. The Pride shows that run on Spike pull big numbers. So we'll see what happens.
Do you have, I don't mean to say this because Strikeforce has great fighters, but is there any truth to the notion that Strikeforce can now be a feeder league for the UFC?
No. These guys have a contract with Showtime, and let's face the facts.
Even when the contract goes away,
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. No, it wouldn't be a feeder league.
It wouldn't be a minor league, is what I'm saying.
No.
Because that's what people thought about WEC, which, right, you know, true or not.
Well, what people didn't understand about the WEC was that was actually the smaller weight categories,
right,
not the bigger. That was what we intended to do with that.
And when you did,
and the reason is because we need more fights. The biggest reason for purchasing Strikeforce is we need more fights as we continue to go out into these other countries. England's losing their mind because there's not enough fights over there. Ireland, people want to kill me in Ireland, okay? If I get another tweet from somebody that wants to kill me in Ireland, I'm going to kill myself. Germany, Australia, every time we go there, we sell out. There is demand for all these fights, not to mention states that we still haven't gone back to here in the U.S. And now we're talking about opening up China, Korea. It's just that there's a lot of demand out there, and we're figuring out ways to fill all those holes.
Is there enough staff in UFC to handle the amount of fights that you want to do, the amount of fighters now you have? Are you going to beef up staff?
Well, this company, as this company continues to grow, I mean, we must hire 10 to 12 people a week. We've already outgrown the building that we just bought and redid, and we own the building next to it. We're buying the one in front of us, and we lease a ton of space in the same complex. So this company just continues to grow and grow and grow.
Quicker than you expected?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you attribute to that growth?
I think that this sport is the most exciting sport in the world, period. That was nice. I think that this sport is seriously the most exciting sport in the world, and I think it's also very addictive. The more people that are exposed to it fall in love with it, and I think that it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow.
All right, so is there any, on a personal note, is there any feeling of not so much gratitude, but you won sort of not the battle, but you won the war when it comes to all your competitors? Year or so?
China, India, Korea.
And possibly, will you leverage any of Scott Coker's relationships in Japan? He's got a lot.
Yeah, Japan has a lot of other issues right now. I mean, I don't think we'd be looking at Japan anytime soon. We were, you know, obviously this tragedy that happened over there. We'll see how this whole thing pans out.
All right, so is there any, on a personal note, is there any feeling of not so much gratitude, but you won sort of not the battle, but you won the war when it comes to all your competitors?
Yeah, I guess I'm proud of what the UFC has become and things that we've accomplished. And the guys that were competitors, to be honest with you, listen, I'll say the same thing I said 2 weeks ago. I never saw Strikeforce as a competitor. I'll say it now, and I said it then. And Scott Coker never acted like a competitor with me. You know, he never came out. Am I pleased about all the people, you know, the organizations we've crushed before them? Absolutely. Yeah, the ones that came out and wanted to fight and wanted to make a fight out of it? Absolutely. I'm 100% happy about that. I'm actually happy to have Strikeforce and Scott Coker. I really like Scott Coker.
All right, well, congratulations,
Cool.
Dana. All your hard work's paid off.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Back to you, Kenny, in the studio.